Hi everyone, I'm Mr. Milestone and my channel's all about finding your passion, fulfilling your potential and achieving your goals. We're back for another episode of my Made It series where I interview people from different backgrounds, different fields. They tell us how they came up and hopefully it will help inspire you. And today I'm joined by a wonderful guest. She's a best-selling author, a journalist and a TV presenter on ITV. It's Candice Brathwaite. Candice, thank you for joining me today.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
Oh, no, I'm humbled, and look, we're going up, people. We're getting the big names in there, so I'm really excited. I guess to start, Candice, for the people that don't know you, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. I'm a mum of two. Like you said, I'm an author. I'm working on book number 3 now. I present on the breakfast show Lorraine. And what else? I guess some people would say content creator, influencer, although that is the portion of my career that I'm trying to scale back on a bit, if that makes sense.
That makes a lot of sense. How was life like for you growing up in the UK, and what stuck with you most?
It was okay, you know why? I don't have anything to compare it to. And now I'm a little older, and say my husband was born in Nigeria, or I have a lot of friends who are classed as immigrants. I am now understanding how lucky I was to be born here. Okay, it's not the best place in the world, but the gymnastics that many people have to do to leave their home country or feel safe or seek the opportunities available to us in the UK. I feel very lucky to be born here. So it was all right. I would say that I was born and raised in Brixton, so I was constantly around people that looked like me. I didn't necessarily understand that I was in the minority. You go Brixton Market, everyone looks like you. You go to school, everyone looks like that. I didn't understand that. Now I'm older and I've moved outside London. I completely get it. But growing up was great. I was raised by my maternal grandfather, so my mum's dad, and we had a great time. It was all right.
Yeah, that sounds great. And in terms of your life, what are the things that you're most passionate about?
Trying to carve out spaces where women that look like me feel not only accepted but put on a pedestal. So I could blanket it by saying Black women. I will go one step further and say darker skinned Black women. Colorism is a massive problem universally, but especially in the Western world. And I see it as a blessing to be able to be on TV with Middle England at breakfast time. There's something very powerful about that. It's like, oh my gosh, this is this very Black looking woman with a shaved head speaking to us at 9:10. Like, I know some people might not be able to handle that because of their racism or their bias, but I think there's something powerful in that. So I am most passionate about being the beacon of light that allows women and girls who look like me to see themselves in certain positions that they may have felt or have been told they're not allowed to be in.
Wow, I love that. That's so inspirational. And heavy weight on your shoulders. Hopefully, you're not in it alone. There's other champions there with you supporting you as well. One of the other topics I know you're very keen to sort of address and tackle is how young Black families are perceived in the media and talked about. And I know you started a blog a few years ago. Can you talk us through sort of what gave you the confidence to begin the blog and start changing that narrative around young Black families?
Do you know what? I will not sit here and lie to you. It was always a business idea from my perspective. So, what a lot of people don't know, I used to work in publishing. I used to work in the marketing department for Penguin Random House. And this was 2014-15 when the term influencer wasn't even here yet, right? They were called bloggers. And I would spend almost 6 hours a day on the phone to certain bloggers asking them, how much would you charge to feature our new book on your blog? And let me tell you, the prices these people were telling me, I was like, I'm in the wrong job. I'm in the wrong job. I need to get on the other side of this. So I'd be given 50 to 60 names a day. And I promise you back then, there was not one Black person or person of color on these spreadsheets. That's 50 to 60 bloggers a day, none of whom are from minority backgrounds or who are Black. And I saw a massive gap in the market. My daughter was about 3 by then, And I'd spend a lot of time online, and I didn't see a family like mine or ours reflected in social media. And my brain just started fizzing. I was like, just start creating that kind of content. You know, when you just see a massive clearance, I was like, I'm going to plug this gap. And let me tell you, 2014, 2015, there were no other Black British families using social media in that way. Trust me, I would have known about them. And that was a really nerve-wracking thing to do, to share content and to like make myself vulnerable to people essentially that I don't know. But I just knew deep down in my stomach that it would pay off. And then on top of that, outside of the business, of course, it is a case of I was just inspired to do it again so people could come online and see themselves. At the point I had my first kid, like, you'd go online and you would think, if you don't have a buggy that's £1,000, and if you haven't bought a house that you're renovating and la 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 la, that your family life isn't up to par. And so I wanted to be able to diversify that for young women about to have families of their own, to be fair.
Yeah, and you touched on a really strong point there. Don't let your fear overcome your belief. If you believe in something and it's really something you're really passionate about, go for it. Don't let anything hold you back. It's something even I felt. I mean, I've only started making content, 6 months ago, but overcoming that fear is something that I'm proud of myself for doing. So yeah, thank you for people like yourself have inspired me. So really sort of appreciate that. And then look, definitely since you started, you've connected with so many people. Like you said, you found a massive gap in the market. It's so genuine, it's so real and raw. And that's led to a lot of success. Life's looking good for you right now, right? Can you just talk us through, I guess, since you started blogging, the doors and opportunities that have opened to you, and well deserved, I should say, that have opened to you since?
Oh, wow. So it's interesting. I started in publishing and I always wanted to be a writer. And so I knew in some way I would be coming back into publishing as the author. I deeply knew that. So that was one of the goals for me in terms of building my online platform. Look, realistically, and sadly, I'd like to add, our world is in a state where no matter what you're doing, people always want to know your social reach. How big is your audience? How big is your platform? And publishing is exactly the same. So my second book, Sista, was actually my first book idea, but it got turned down 9 times because people were like, your platform's not big enough. La 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 la, you're such a good writer, all of these things. But they were like, this platform's not big enough. So I really had to work to grow this platform to get people interested in other things. I also knew I always wanted to be on TV, because here's the gag. Traditional media is still the most respected. Don't ask me why. The reality is, influencers, bloggers, all of that, everyone still wants to have a foot in the traditional media door. Maybe you're a DJ on BBC Radio or Kiss. Maybe you're on BBC or ITV. But being able to have that on your CV is as equally as powerful as having 1 million followers on YouTube or whatever. So I always knew that I was going to use these things to like build this empire, so to speak. And it's been a hard slog. I'm not gonna lie. I feel like now it's getting easier. But in the early days, it was a really hard slog, again, because I was coming in, what I say, like I was doing it the backwards way. I come through the back door. People on TV are like, yeah, so what? She chats into her camera on TikTok or whatever. How do we know she's a good presenter, So even though I'm trying to get my foot in the door in traditional media, it feels like, or it felt like at every turn I had to prove myself.
That's really interesting. And you're definitely one of the few that are pushing those barriers open and breaking them down. But there's been a lot of, success along the way. So like, as you said, 2 published books, I'm Not Your Baby Mother, Sista, which is out, both on Amazon. Purchase them if you're not already. And as you said, you're on ITV with Lorraine. To do all that, to be a trailblazer, to be someone like yourself, you've got to be really driven. What would you say are the real key drivers to your success?
Okay, this is going to sound it will sound strange to some. The key driver to my success is, honestly, I absolutely know that I wasn't born to do anything else. That is an absolute dying fact. And I tell you why I know that. Because at times when this career has been hard, I've wanted to step back from this. I've wanted to be like, rah, I'll just go work in Sainsbury's. It's not that deep. It's not that deep. But there is just this intrinsic pull to the things that I do. where sometimes I just sit here with my head in my hands and I'm like, rah, God, is there no other path? Like, is this really it? And the reality is, when I get still and I listen, the response is, no, this is it. These are the gifts I have given you, and this is what I want you to do with them. So sometimes when I see people, because it's all around you, when I see people chatting nonsense about me or being mean, in my mind, I sit down, I'm like, do you think I want to do this? Do you think that I want to be so publicly vulnerable or have people in my business? Who in their right mind would choose this? The reality is, though, I just genuinely feel, and it's the hill I'm prepared to die on, that this is actually what I was born to do. So that means I get up every day with a purpose. It's like, and on top of getting up with a purpose, I understand what a blessing it is to get up every day and be happy. And not just be happy, but also have autonomy. If I open my calendar in the morning and I don't like something, I can erase it. I do not have to go to a boss's office and say, I don't really feel like going to this meeting. I've now worked hard enough to say, right, I can't do that, or my kid's sick, or, and I truly understand what a blessing that is. But like, yeah, that's how I stay driven. Like, I'm just not built for anything else.
Ooh, I love that. I love that. I love that. And I love what you're talking about, having your passion and how your passion and your purpose really drove you on. And guess what, guys? I've got a video about just that. I'll put a link down below for you, so check it out if you haven't already. So with success, there comes challenges, right? So I'm sure you face them along the way. Is there one specific challenge or setback that you've had during your career? And, can you just talk us through that and how you overcame that and what kept you persistent along the way?
I think in hindsight, I never call them setbacks. I'm like, that's a setup or it's a get out. It's like, this is going to set you up to achieve this, or this is the universe. That's how I talk about it. This is the universe telling you to back off from something. So I would say one of the biggest setups and get outs for me was realizing that not everyone in my industry is my friend. I came into this space like playing a very open hand game, thinking as nice as I was being to people, they were being as equally nice to me. And I learned the hard way, in a very public way, that not everyone thought as well of me as I did of them. And I'm so grateful to have learned that lesson early on in my career, because it really has made me understand to keep that circle tight. And not in that way of like in the Jay-Z rapper way, like keep your friends closer. Not in that, but honestly understand and respect that in order to go here, you really need soldiers you can rely on. And the reality is, if you've just met someone 6 weeks ago, they do not owe you, no one owes you anything, but they do not owe you loyalty or kindness in the way that someone who has been rocking with you since you were 10 does. And I had to learn that, like, that's one of my biggest lessons, to be honest. And outside of that, it's the overwhelming lesson that, like I said, sometimes, what's the saying? A delay is not a denial. And I am the most impatient person. I want it now. Like, what, like, why am I not doing that? I'm also a very jealous person. And I don't think people admit these things. Like, I understand my sins. I'm jealous, I'm petty, I'm impatient. And that concoction is not helpful in the career that I'm in, because the reality is all of my peers are always doing something fantastic. And if I don't put my blinders on, I can easily be like, oh my gosh, why are they doing that? And why haven't I been called? And so I've really had to meditate on the idea that a delay is not a denial. And when it is your time, when things do align, you couldn't have made it any more perfect, but it's about having faith enough to just wait for your moment.
Yeah, I love that. And I love how you just being so open and vulnerable and honest with yourself about so many things. I mean, I'm like you, I'm a bit impatient, Candice. To be honest, I wanted this interview yesterday, but today it will do. Today will do. And then look, as a young black mother who's had so much incredible success throughout your journey, what can we do to make more people like you visible and give them those same opportunities for success?
I think we can just support a woman like me. We can just support her work. I think, okay, let me really think about what I want to say. If the Black community put as much energy into supporting and uplifting as they did chatting mess on Twitter, so many of us would be a lot further along. I feel like sometimes our arguments and our discourse is really splintered and we lose focus. And it's like, okay, let's talk about musicians, for instance. Yada, yada, yada. This musician is not popping because she's dark skinned and she's got all these hurdles. Did you stream the song? Did you promote the song? Did you share the music on stories? Are you buying tickets to these people's shows? I can't hear anything. I think gone are the days when we can just sit on our phones and rant about what we're angry about, instead of finding ways to support the people who we think there are injustices done against. Because the reality is, when, again, still using music as an example, record labels aren't necessarily going to support a woman who looks like me because we haven't shown that she sells. They know that Beyonce sells. They know that girls that look like Beyonce sell. So how can we gather together and make sure that girls that look like me sell, or young Black women trying to write books, that their books land on Sunday Times bestseller lists? Like, I just want to gather us together and be like, are we really moving as a unit? And like I said, the energy we're putting into arguing about blackfishing or whatever, can we turn our gaze to those that could do with our positive support?
Yeah, I love that, and I agree with you about Twitter, which is like a parallel universe where it's just a mess. But yeah, times have changed with the growth, with social media, definitely, and we've not got we've got the power not only just to complain about the narrative, but to shape it and change it ourselves. I think that's what a lot of people still don't understand. So I wholeheartedly agree with you. And look, as it's Black History Month in the UK, what advice would you give to young Black people who want to be successful?
You can't wait. You can't wait on like a guardian angel or a mentor or sponsorship. The reality is, especially in the UK, there aren't enough of us in maybe the position you want to be in for you to be able to look left or right and say, this is the person I'm going to use as an example. In most cases right now, for, I would say, the millennial generations and under, we are our only example of this current landscape. Like, the generations before us didn't have social media. They didn't have the power to sit at home and make money. No other generation has done this before us. So many of us right now, in terms of building lives that we love, in my opinion, that's the definition of success. Build a life that you love. It's not always Forbes 30 under 30, or, it's a life that you love and you can wake up to every day and be like, I really like my life. Anyway, I'm missing the point. I think that you need to remember, you're not always going to be able to have a guardian angel or someone doing it in front of you. So get ready to take hits. Get ready. And this is the thing. I also think, as much as it's like digital age and we're doing things differently, we're also a lot weaker than the generations before us, because we don't really operate in the community. We work alone. And it's very much this attitude you see online. I don't need no one, bun people, It's like, whoa, 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 whoa. We do need people, but you also need to ready yourself to take stumbles and falls that you've never seen no one else do, and just believe in yourself enough that you can get back up. I know some people want like the lovey-dovey rainbows and glitter advice, but in my opinion, you just need to remember that those stumbles and those hits are going to come. People are going to attack you for trying to succeed because A, they've never seen you do it, or B, they fear you, or C, a combination of the two. And what's so funny is a lot of these attacks or these trying setbacks are going to come from people that look just like you, because the reality is, when we see our own step outside of, I can only describe it as like this box of white supremacy. Like, we can only dance in this box. When we see one of ourselves go outside this box, everyone's petrified. Everyone's like, what are you doing? It's not going to last. And the only way we seem to be able to vocalize that, it comes off as hating or by not wanting the other person to succeed. And you've got to prepare for a really lonely journey in some respects, because so many people around you are going to be fearful for the fact that you are trying to live a life that you love. Because as far as as our history shows, that's not something we're gifted very often.
Wow. Bookmark that. That's your quote of the day. And I think that's a wonderful way to kind of wrap up. But Candice, can you tell people how can they follow you? How can they support your content? Where can they buy your books? Let's have it all.
You can buy my books at any good bookshop. And you know what? Just follow me on Instagram. I'm just Candice Brathwaite on Instagram. I'm not on Twitter, obviously. Like, that's not my vibe. So just on Instagram, watch Lorraine if you're at home in the mornings, and that's it.
Well, Candice, it was great having you. Thank you so much. So many wonderful gems, so inspirational. I hope you all enjoyed it too. And if you did, please like, comment below if you've got any questions for Candice, and if you want to see more content like this. And if you haven't already, subscribe, because I've got lots more content to come. So thanks for watching, and let's keep chasing those goals.